This is Radio Taiwan International.
Welcome to the news on Radio Taiwan International. I'm Eloise Phillips, coming to you from Taipei, Taiwan. We begin with a look at today's top stories for Monday, February 2nd. Digital Minister calls for the swift removal of disinformation and support for traditional news outlets. Deputy Foreign Minister says bilateral ties outweigh multilateral systems amid global shifts. And Taiwan launches new 10 major AI infrastructure projects to ensure edge. But first, today's top story. Digital Minister Lai Ching-te told visiting Ukrainian journalists Taras Andrukovich and Anna Lvova that Taiwan's enemies may use misinformation to undermine Taiwan's resolve to resist authoritarianism. This, he said, is an issue the ministry is taking very seriously, responding with two main strategies to remove bad actors in news and encourage those focused on reporting accuracy through a blacklist-whitelist strategy. In an interview on Friday, Lin said that the decoupling of the US and Chinese economies over the past decade has divided global supply chains into either red or democratic camps. Taiwan's TSMC, Lin said, is at the center of the democratic supply chains, manufacturing over 90% of advanced semiconductors. This has meant that protecting TSMC from hackers, who often target TSMC suppliers, has become a growing responsibility, leading to the joint promotion of the new SEMI E187 specification for cybersecurity of fab equipment standard and requiring all suppliers to comply. Taiwan has worked with many international partners to apply similar solutions and strengthen global cybersecurity across various sectors. In another example, Lin noted that Taiwan is currently working with Poland and Ukraine to develop drones with security measures to prevent them from being hijacked by enemies on the battlefield. Taiwan's experience as a hacking target of North Korea, China, and Russia has made the country a hub of cybersecurity expertise, with a wealth of experience and data to draw on for innovative solutions. Taiwanese experts are constantly adding to that experience, deliberately setting traps for hackers to attack, so that white hat hackers can identify vulnerabilities, work out patches, and disseminate that information to the larger democratic community. However, the ministry's resources are also focused internally, where disinformation remains a major concern. To combat this, the Digital Ministry has employed the dual strategies of blacklisting and whitelisting. Lin explains that blacklisting involves quickly removing fake and misleading news from unfriendly countries and requiring social platforms to comply. This strategy is like a tightrope, as Lin stressed that Taiwan is a democracy with protections for freedom of expression, meaning that finding a balance can be difficult. The whitelist strategy supports professional media outlets like Radio Taiwan International in disseminating accurate information to the public.
That means we will try to encourage more media like RTI, like your station, this kind of traditional media with the professional journalists to provide the real news, the correct information. Sometimes you will get something wrong from time to time, but on average, the traditional media is much, much better than the rumor on the social media.
Despite efforts like the whitelist strategy, Lin admitted that traditional media outlets face numerous challenges in the digital age, especially around losing revenue to social media sites. Still, the minister said that the Digital Ministry will continue cooperation with the Culture Ministry to provide support and seek solutions, stressing that, quote, without a free press, there can be no democracy, end quote. Taiwan's Deputy Foreign Minister, Francois Wu Zizong, said bilateral relationships have become more important than multilateral frameworks as international institutions face growing challenges, citing Taiwan's role in artificial intelligence as a key driver of international cooperation. Wu made the remarks in an interview with visiting Ukrainian journalists on Thursday amid shifting global dynamics. He said that organizations such as the United Nations are increasingly constrained, prompting Taiwan to focus more on bilateral diplomacy. Entering what he described as the AI era, Wu said Taiwan, which he called, quote, the capital of AI, end quote, continues to attract international attention and cooperation requests, adding that Taiwan is willing to share its AI expertise and play a more proactive role in the international community. He stated,
when we work with other countries, it's more and more based on how Taiwan can play a positive role in the world and how Taiwan can even assist some country for their re-industrialized policy.
Explaining Taiwan's diplomatic challenges, Wu said Taiwan faces sustained pressure from China, the world's second-largest economy. He said Taiwan's diplomatic efforts focus on countering Beijing's One China principle narrative and emphasizing that Taiwan is not a domestic issue for China and not part of China. Although few countries formally recognize Taiwan, Wu noted that Taiwan maintains 111 overseas missions worldwide. The minister noted that the declining effectiveness of international organizations such as the United Nations, World Health Organization, and World Trade Organization has made bilateral ties increasingly critical. Through bilateral discussions on key issues, Taiwan's relationships with multiple countries have steadily improved. On relations with Poland, Wu emphasized that Taiwan values Central and Eastern European countries as much as major Western European states. He said Taiwan-Poland relations are warming and continue to deepen. On Ukraine, Wu ensured that Taiwan will continue to support Ukraine based on shared values and interests, but deeper bilateral ties depend on the Ukrainian government's position. Addressing claims that Russian missiles contain Taiwanese components, Wu said Taiwan has enforced strict high-tech export controls since Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Wu also stressed the importance of linking Indo-Pacific peace and stability to the interests of the United States, Japan, and Western countries, saying international support for Taiwan has grown amid China's military exercises. President Lai Ching-te said Monday that AI is changing the world in the present tense, not the future, as the government rolls out new 10 major AI infrastructure projects to cultivate 500,000 AI application talents by 2040 and bolster quantum technology, silicon, photonics, and robotics for long-term competitiveness toward an innovative economy and smart nation. Lai met with the award-winning teams from the Asia-Pacific ICT Alliance Awards, or APICTA Awards 2025, hailed as the Oscars of Asia-Pacific ICT. Taiwan hosted the event in December after a 9-year gap and clinched 10 golds, 8 silvers and 6 bronzes from 256 entries across 13 Indo-Pacific economies, breaking records. The president stressed that AI changing the world is not in the future tense, but in the present progressive. The initiative, proposed last year, invests 1.5 trillion NT dollars, around $47.4 billion US dollars, to generate 15 trillion NT dollars, around $474 billion US dollars in value. Lai said the government also continues to develop quantum technology, silicon photonics and robotics, 3 key technologies to ensure Taiwan's long-term competitiveness. In the future, he added, the government will advance simultaneously from 5 major aspects: computing power, data, talent, marketing and funding, to accelerate building a forward-looking and inclusive tech environment, further advancing toward an innovative economy and a smart nation's goals. Lai emphasized AI's value in solving problems and improving lives, vowing an open, vibrant, inclusive innovation ecosystem as an engine for SMEs. He urged youth contestants to be the leading force for a smart nation, promising government support for global ties and real-world impact. Premier Cho Rong-tai attended the Southern Taiwan Science Park's 30th anniversary celebration and group wedding event on Saturday. Amid Taiwan's low birth rate crisis, he jokingly thanked the park for producing hundreds of newlyweds to address national security concerns. Cho said Taiwan now leads in global high-tech products, with its industrial cluster experience drawing international learners and propelling the island worldwide. This marked his first group wedding since taking office, and he expressed delight that the park nurtures not only high-tech talent and industries, but also 66 new couples, using the nation's guardian mountain spirit to tackle the birth rate issue. Citing Directorate General of Budget, Accounting and Statistics data, Cho noticed that Taiwan's fourth-quarter economic growth hit 12.68% last year, the highest in 35 years, while full-year growth reached 8.63%, the best in 15 years, surpassing the 4 Asian tigers. Per capita GDP income stood at $39,477 US dollars, nearing President Lai Ching-te's $40,000 US dollar goal. He highlighted how the park transformed sugarcane fields into wafer fabs 30 years ago. Without Hsinchu's Science Park's start in 1980, Taiwan couldn't have built such expertise, which now attracts global attention, including US requests to share it during Taiwan-US talks. The premier cited government policies like national childcare subsidies covering ages 0 to 6 for parents, nannies or centres. He urged the newlyweds to achieve 100% quote, software production end quote, yield by raising excellent next generations and managing happy homes like park operations. He wished them a blessed journey supported by various government policies as they embark on a new chapter of their lives. Thanks for joining me for the news. I'm Eloise Phillips. Stay tuned for another 50 minutes of English language features brought to you by Radio Taiwan International.